Welcome to Buying and Beyond, recorded live at Top Drawer. I'm Kate and this is Lynsey. And today we are diving into one of the most exciting topics shaping retail right now. We are joined by Hannah Adams. She has worked with some of the biggest names in fashion, including ASOS and Arcadia, and she helps teams adapt to new technology and to embrace change. So today we're going to be talking about AI and how it is transforming the way that we work.
So we're going to be exploring how AI can help buyers and brands do anything from creating new ideas, preparing for negotiations, to planning research trips, and even developing career skills. But first, Hannah, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about your background?
Yeah, I'd love to. And thanks to you both for having me. Lovely to meet you, everyone. So I, like many of you here today, I'm an ex-buyer. I worked in the Arcadia group buying menswear for many years. And if only AI had existed then, I think I would have had a much easier life in many ways. So my career transitioned in my 30s to transformation, and then I really got into systems and technical skills a lot more, but still with fashion and retail businesses. So that's when I joined ASOS. And in my time at ASOS, in the last 18 months, I'd say, is when AI really took off. And I'm going to talk you through a little bit more about kind of how I got started, how you can get started if you're not using it, and also some best practices, some quick wins.
What I think is really great about this is that when we've worked in buying for sort of 15, 16 years now, and there's always new tools and new kind of technology coming out, and you're almost just sort of expected to know how to use it. And it's quite broad as well sometimes. And I remember having purchase order systems, and there was no one really that understood buying specifically, and we became the super users without really quite knowing how it worked. And what I love about this is that there is this sort of area of business transformation that a lot of retailers, large retailers anyway, are looking at implementing, and having people like yourself that understand retail, not just technology. And that's why I'm so excited about having you to join us today, because you're going to be applying the world of retail to these technologies, specifically AI today.
I mean, it's all about it not being scary. And as I say to everyone, you can't break AI. So I am going to be asking everyone to get their phones out and have a go themselves in a minute, if that's okay.
Hannah, should we just go through some of the expectations and some of the gains that we're going to talk through today?
Absolutely. So this is what we're going to go through today. And let me just remind myself, we're going to get started. So I don't want to teach people to suck eggs who are already using AI. So if you already are, just kind of listen in for the first section. And then we're going to be looking at creativity and product development, how you can use the more creative large language models that sit behind AI for your work. And then we're going to look at it for research and inspiration. So that's what we're going to go through. In terms of gains, I've got new glasses and I can't quite see them from this angle. Can you help me out?
Sure, no problem. So Hannah's going to give you a bit more knowledge about AI and give you the real confidence to have a go at it yourself and look at some of the training techniques that you can utilise to making it personal to you. And also, really excitingly, some inspiration for you. She's got some amazing examples which hopefully everybody can sort of draw from and take on to their own personal uses.
Okay, so let's get started. Hannah, what would your advice be to someone who wants an introduction to AI and wants to start experimenting with it? And can you explain what is the difference between the agents out there? Now, I know there's a lot, so let's just bring it to maybe the sort of core 3 or 4 that maybe are used, and why would you use them and how?
Absolutely. So how many people have you used ChatGPT on their phone? quite a lot of you. Lovely. So that is the one that I find is most established and people have experimented most with. It's definitely what I started with to plan a holiday to Orlando with. And that's a really good place to get started and do research with. So that's this little icon here in the middle, the black and white one, available in all app stores.
And that's sort of the number one sort of known AI sort of learning machine, isn't it? So it's known most for its usage and also its awareness.
Yeah, absolutely. I think kind of there aren't many people under a certain age who won't have heard of ChatGPT, although my mum still uses loads of different letters after the word chat when I tried to talk with her about AI.
CBT,
yeah.
CBD.
That's the one, exactly that. And then you'll see a couple of other logos up here. Does anyone know what they are? Okay, maybe we've just got some shy, not caffeinated enough people in the audience, but I can let you know. So we've got at the top, we've got Claude AI, and then at the bottom, we've got Gemini. And I'd really recommend Claude AI for more written work. And I can show you some examples in a bit. And then Gemini has the Nano Banana tool in it, which is really creative and really good for visuals. So I know this all sounds like gobbledygook right now, but just take a couple of notes and have a play around afterwards, and you'll soon get to grips with it, because although I work in kind of techie things, I'm not a tech person. I'm just the same as you. So,
and Gemini is linked to Google, isn't it?
Gemini,
so it's a bit more integrated into
that's
kind
right.
of, and it's got, as I understand, quite a powerful sort of like search and productivity behind it. Whereas, as you say, Claude is more about sort of the written word. So if you're wanting to maybe write an email or something like that, Claude could be better for that kind of thing.
Absolutely. And I'm hoping after this session that you'll stop kind of using Google for Google, how should I do this? Or Google, tell me more about this. And you'll actually start using some of these instead, because you'll be able to write more detailed descriptions of what you want and get much richer results.
And you can actually get more from it as well, can't you, than Google? Google is very much like a one-word answer. Whereas when you use something like one of these AI tools, actually there's a lot more information. You can get a lot more creativity, as we're going to see. And I saw a stat that I think it was, a very, very small percentage. So I'm going to throw something out there because I'm a buyer and I can make numbers. I'm not a merchandiser. So let's say 7%. But it's a very small number of over 40s that actually use AI as something other than just Googling it, asking it a question. And I think that's the thing we want to kind of really sort of talk about today, is that AI can be an absolute game changer, but only if you know how to use it. And it's all about the prompts.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. I think I'm really excited about the Nano Banana side of things, especially being incredibly creative. And I think also lots of creative people are sort of kind of intimidated by it because they don't want to give away all their ideas, and it's just a really amazing step change for us to kind of nurture those ideas and develop on those ideas rather than giving them away, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you need to see it as your assistant or friend. It's not replacing anyone in your business. It's just giving you an extra person and an extra sounding board.
Fantastic. So shall we start with a little safety brief? Ooh, gone too quick there. A little safety briefing. Do you want to take us through this, Hannah?
Yeah, thank you. It'd be so irresponsible for me to say, everyone start using ChatGPT today without just talking you through the kind of security. So I don't know if you actually just want to take a photo of this screen and do it later. But what you want to do is kind of, because you're all small businesses with your own unique ideas, you just want to make sure that your data is kind of kept quite private. If you put something in there like plan a holiday for me, you don't mind that information being shared. But if you started putting some of your business data in there, which is very private to you, you wouldn't want that to then become part of the larger information that's out there for AI agents to use. So within each different tool, Chat, Claude, Gemini, you can go into the settings and you can disable options like chat history, training, reference chat. And that just means your conversations won't be used to train the model, and you kind of can keep your private stuff private. If you're a bit like, well, that didn't work for Claude, if you do go in to Claude itself and say, how do I make all of my conversations with you super private? Please give me step-by-step instructions. You can then pop that into your laptop while you do it in your phone, for example. So just before you start using any of them, give yourself a little bit of governance and security, and just make sure you're keeping your private information private.
Fantastic. Great. So shall we move on to having a little look at a demo then?
Yes, let's. So here you will see ChatGPT that I've got open on the desktop. And what I've done is thought about a suggestion that Lynsey actually gave me, which was wanting to expand options on a seasonal category of goods. So I've spoken to Chat like it's a person. I haven't actually given it much detail here. I've just said I'd like to expand my options on a seasonal category of heated and electric blankets for Valentine's Day. You can tell.
Perfect for right now. It's that cold. This is perfect. I love it. I'm excited already.
So then I've just said, please advise how I can do this. So what it's done is it's kind of had a little look around at what's out there, dreamland and cozy. And then it's kind of thought about kind of some different options I can think about. Different types, over blanket, under blanket, dual control, different safety features. So it really is kind of a lot more rich than what you'd get if you just Googled that information. I've mentioned Valentine's Day. Lynsey actually had the brilliant idea of you could have a lovely heated blanket for 2 people to sit under, which it didn't think of.
I don't know where these ideas come from.
It just goes to show that AI can't
Do everything, can
Can't
it? It
replace
can very
humans.
much help, but it won't remove that creativity.
Exactly
It's all
that.
about helping you to format those ideas. And I think the golden rule of all of this is, as you can see, there's a lot of information that you've put in there. So it's all about the prompting, right? So the clearer the brief, the better the answer.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and it's not, as we said, it's not Google specifically where you're putting in a question to get a single answer. You're treating it like an assistant, aren't you?
Exactly
So
that.
it's almost like you're brainstorming. And particularly if you're sort of maybe on your own, we've talked about how we're quite lucky and we can bounce ideas off of each other. But sometimes if you're working completely solo or in silo, then you don't have that opportunity. So this is where you can really discuss those points with someone else, a virtual assistant, but you need to give context and you need to give the goals and you need to put some constraints about it, which is exactly what you've been putting in here.
Exactly. Thank you. So you can see it's kind of gone off on a tangent. It's thought about different marketing hooks. It's suggested doing a Valentine's Day bundle with hot cocoa and tea. I mean, this sounds like something that I'd love to sit and do with my mum, to be honest. And then it's kind of thought about budget. I've asked it to do a little bit of a look around the competition and price points. So that might be something you usually do quite manually. And it's done it super speedy for us. So starting at £15 and going up, and then it kind of includes all the links, tells you premium, talks about what's happening in the market. It's done like a little table, and then has given tips to compete and differentiate. So,
wow, it's a lot of information.
It's
there,
a lot.
Isn't there? And back to Kate's point, I think it is just so important about what you put in at the beginning, and then you sort of nurture with it what else you want to find out, and it's sort of picking up on everything that you've just said, isn't it, and taking it further and taking that idea further through, really, from sort of paper to creation, which as buyers, we've been so used to doing that ourselves, haven't we? That's kind of how our life cycle starts. Absolutely. So it's kind of doing those steps for us, but not taking away the creativity, not taking away the ideas stage of it. It's just giving you a bit more help and thought process for implementation.
And it's not necessarily giving you the answer.
No.
as you said, the answer's not necessarily correct. It's giving you food for thought. It's saying, okay, this is an interesting point you've got. Well, how about you think about these things? And as you said, to Lynsey's point, it hasn't come up with the double electric blanket idea for Valentine's Day.
Thank
Feels
you.
like that would have been a number one point. And I think the way that you're talking to it isn't just bullet pointing, and you're having a conversation, right? You're being really chatty and at times maybe being a little bit vulnerable, a little bit open. What are my problems? Who am I? Giving it real context.
Yeah, I mean, you can really go to town on any kind of thought you're having. I've had development conversations with it before for if I want to talk with someone on my team, or if I'm struggling to find the words to send like a bit of a difficult email to someone. You can really use it to kind of say, but then you can tweak it as well to say, make it sound more chatty, make it sound more heartfelt.
Yeah.
You really can kind of edit as you get each answer back.
And sometimes it's those second prompts that actually are the most important. So putting in all the information at the beginning, but then tweaking it and refining it so it becomes so personal to you.
Yeah, definitely. And we've talked a lot about this, haven't we, Kate? Like, you've got to be using it a lot, using it every day, and sort of training the brain really of it to think the way that you think. So often I'll use it a bit more than you will.
I would say Lynsey definitely uses it a lot more than I do, and I will just be really frustrated because I'll go to use it and it will come up with something. I'm like, that is not what I meant. That's not what I wanted it to come up with. I could have come up with something better myself. And then I'll discuss with Lynsey, who will be like, oh, so I think maybe we should do this, this, and this. And I'm like, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
But it's because Lynsey's spending that time and she's nurturing that sort of relationship she's got, which feels very odd because it's not
Very
a
odd.
person, but nurturing, and it's becoming sort of part of you.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, I'll admit it, I'm part of that percentage and I am using it like Google still. And I know there's so much more I could probably get from it if I was to spend a bit more time. So I would just say that. I know I've said it a few times, but really reiterating it is about putting those prompts in. It's about having that conversation, developing that relationship, and not expecting it to do something straight off.
Yeah,
It could
100%.
take weeks and months, but it will become one of the most valuable tools. And if we don't start using it, then you're only going to get left behind. And I think that can be one of the scariest thoughts of it is that you kind of have to embrace it. I think someone said to me, it was a bit like, when sort of web pages started, it's almost like another sort of advancement in technology. And if you don't start moving to it now, then you're just going to fall behind.
Yeah, absolutely.
And have fun with it.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's just like training an employee, really, isn't it? But it's got some really nice things to say back. So that's some really brilliant tips to get started. Shall we now have a little look at what we can do to use it to unlock time and support creativity? I know you've got some really fun things to
I've
share.
got some great examples. If we just, Mark, flip back to the slide for a second, just because we had a few more on here. Thank you. So you can use it to save some time to spend on other stuff, like planning a holiday. You can use it to help plan a conversation you're going to have with someone to make the conversation more successful. We have spoken about a category expansion, and then what does the last one say again? Draft the email.
Yeah, that's really helpful. I do use it a lot for that.
So whether you're a brand and you're approaching new buyers, or whether you're a buyer yourself and approaching different brands, or managing your relationship, it can really help you to just get started.
I think sometimes as well, and we think we've all been there, where you have maybe a particularly frustrating situation. And I think sometimes what can really help is adjusting the tone. So you write what you want to say, but then you say, could you help me make this sound friendly and professional? Mm-hmm. And so it almost, instead of giving yourself that sort of overnight to calm down and then rewrite it, it saves you time. You're much more efficient because it helps you take the emotion out of it, but you still get your point across.
Yeah, exactly. I think I've used it quite a lot to write emails, and I think the first thing I thought when I was doing that was, oh, well, this doesn't sound like it's coming from me. So it's not always taking the first thing that it says to you when you write that email, because you do still want to sound authentic and genuine, and just taking the time to run it through like at least sort of 3 or 4 times and making sure that sounds like you. Also, I struggle a little bit with dyslexia and, you know, sort of forming sentences and things like that. So sometimes it really helps me put that down on paper. And, you know, I think that if you just use it in a genuine, authentic way and you understand what your values are as a person and how you come across to someone, it can be a really good tool to help you put that down on paper.
To structure it a bit better, brain dump it and everything in your own words. And as you say, it starts to learn you and then it will just structure it for you.
Absolutely. And for the written words, I've tested a few, but I have found Claude to be my favourite written word AI tool. I've used it for job hunting. I've used it for composing emails. You know, I've kind of written scripts with it. So, and the back and forth conversation I have with Claude is probably the one that is closest to how it would be if I was talking to these ladies in real life or to a friend or to a colleague. So, yeah, I definitely would recommend Claude if once you get started as another tool you can use for your written work.
Fantastic. I can't wait to use that a bit more.
I
need to move away from ChatGPT.
Do it. Make a new friend.
So we're going to now look. Sorry, my clicker's not working. This is where technology fails you.
Yes.
Just going to be on normal.
So should we go into a bit more detail about prompts?
Yes, if we just flick back one page, sorry, I know it's got a bit of a sticky button. So the more information you can write in your prompt, and this is another one I take a quick snap of, the better result you're going to get back. So there are lots and lots of prompt examples, but this one is called the CD. So if you give it the context of what you're trying to achieve or what you're trying to do, it will automatically get whichever tool you're using thinking in the right way. And then after you've given the context and background, then you start giving the instructions of what you want it to do or look at for you. The more specific you can get, so maybe if I'd said with my Valentine's piece, I want 5 options, or I want a premium price point, or I want them to come in from this country of origin, or I want to sell them in this store, it could have tailored all of that information for me and made it more bespoke rather than it being so broad and overreaching. And then the final thing, and the girls touched on it just now, was how would you like it to respond? So would you like it to be in a particular tone? Would you like it to be visual? Would you like it to be in a chart? So you can really say exactly what you want with no fear of offending someone by saying, I want it to look like this, sound like this, smell like this.
Can you go and redo it? Because I want it in a chart format.
And I want it in 5 minutes. It's kind of that kind of fast. So I really would recommend if you want to get good results early, that's great. But the other thing you can always do is if you do get your first set of results is you can always say, make it more this or change this to be that, and it will just tweak as you go as well.
I really like the idea of the way I remember doing the prompts is role, goal, detail. And I like it because it rhymes. Yeah. I love an acronym, but I really like it that it rhymes. It goes role, goal, detail. Love so that. Role, who are you? Tell the AI tool who you are. I am a fashion retail buyer. Or tell AI, what expert are you? I am a founder of this tool. I have these products. And then give them the detail. So a bit more specifics about your detail, about your product type, a bit more about your target customer, a bit more about your product, a bit more about your kind of your constraints, whether that be time or budget, and then refine it. Mm-hmm. Refine it. Give it a bit more detail. And as you say, keep going back and nurturing it.
I love that, Kate.
Role, goal, detail.
That's what everyone is going to be thinking when they go to bed tonight. Thank you. So let's have a bit of a look at some creativity and product development. So some ideas for prompts that I've used before could be a scrape of a really large amount of information. So when I first started talking to Lynsey and Kate, I said I'd scraped the Paris September catwalks for women's wear, and I asked it to find me key colours, key fabrics, key shapes. That doesn't replace designers or trend people or brands doing that work, but if you want a quick and dirty snapshot of
Just a really quick overview.
Yeah.
Just tell me, summary, top line it.
Yeah, exactly. Just something to give you a steer. That's a really great thing you can use. Recolors is, I think, maybe how we met.
That's how we met. I saw something that you had put on LinkedIn about recoloring a simple pair of denim trousers, and you made them look fantastic. And I'm not saying you need to park your design team at all, because I love working with a design team, but sometimes, particularly working in a large retail organization, you would go to a sign-off where your directors would want to see it mocked up in 10 different colors, 10 different prints, and you'd want to go to your design team and they would be very busy on something else and not have the time to do it. And so it just alleviates it. It's not replacing it, it's just saying, actually, could I just get a quick snapshot as to how this might look, and it can help people to visualize. And gone are the days of us cutting swatches or trying to color a piece of paper and pin it onto something. You can really help people to visualize things.
Yeah, you don't need to do that dance in the middle of a sign-off saying, so it's going to look like this, but it's not like that, and it's the colour of that.
Yeah. You've got all these samples around. It's going to have a trim like this, but it's going to be the colour of this, and it's going to have this fabric, and yeah.
I guess it's more sustainable as well. You're not asking for extra samples to be made in different colours.
Absolutely.
You can just pop them up on the screen.
Because at the end of the day as well, that's coming into your cost price, isn't it? When you're oversampling, you need to keep those costs down.
Shall I show a couple of examples?
Yeah, let's.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, so we're now going to move into Gemini. So I'm carrying on with my theme of coziness because, as you know, it's quite chilly outside at the moment. So I saw this lovely hot water bottle cover and thought maybe this would be cute in animal. So this is in Gemini, but I clicked at the bottom option for image. So rather than it coming up as text, it's pointing to the image part of the work. So I've specified leopard, zebra, cow, but I could have expanded on this and said whatever you think as well. But I was just keeping it quite easy, and this came up straight away. So very quick and easy. I think I'd like a zebra one. So then, for those people who don't like animal prints and want something more natural, I've knocked it into some more tonal colorways. And then I also played with different fur types, something a bit more woolly, something a bit more hairy, just to try and get a visual to see if it would actually look good. I kind of like the.
It'd be really interesting to see what it came out with if you put hairy in there.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was the more hairy one. It didn't go to town. And then this was your favourite when I showed you just before, the next one.
These are great.
Okay, I'm a big fan of Anya Himmarch eyes. So I added my request about the eyes. I suggested colour. And now we have some character.
How cute are those?
So fun.
I would be flocking to buy it, all colours.
Yeah, same here. Let's let Anya know afterwards. And then I moved into my electric blanket phase again. So these aren't perfect, but I asked for some different ideas for electric blankets, and I think it gave me some checky ones, some stripy ones, different patterns, which is kind of new, but I have to say sometimes, I really love these pictures, for example, but sometimes you get some quite funky, old-fashioned looking things back. So you just have to play around with it, keep asking it to work into things for you. And the same as I asked for some shoes, and I got some funny results back.
If anything, it can brighten up your day a bit.
Yeah.
Put something in and see what funny things come out, just for a laugh.
Yeah, exactly. A rainy Monday. It'd be perfect for that. So that's this one. But just to let you know, I kind of used Claude initially to find out what the trends were.
Okay.
So I typed in what are the biggest trends for spring on ladies' footwear, and it kind of came out in the written work. So if you needed to put that into an email or into a pack, it was there. And then I used this little copy button. I don't know if you can see that at the bottom. They all have that at the bottom when they give you an answer, copy. And I pasted that into Gemini to give me the images. So they're not perfect images. Let's see if I can make this. But it showed ballet flats, it showed loafers, it showed a sculptural heel, all of which Claude said were the key trends for footwear. So I would probably just kind of hone in on like one shoe type after this and get it to expand than have the whole square.
Yeah, and you still need that sort of element of understanding your customer to know which of those pictures to select. So again, taking it back to still needing that human element. If you know your customer loves a sculptured heel, then that's the one you're going to go after and then explore further variations and ideas around it, right? So again, it's a tool. It's really helping you to sort of continue that development process.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking so much today, I think, really about how we're utilising AI and how it is there to help us accelerate us and not replace us. And I think we need to be really, really, really clear on that. And there's lots of other things that it can help us do too. Shall we just brainstorm a few of those?
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, I think we've got a few on our slides actually, Mark, as well, to kick us off.
Great. Who wants to go first?
Well, so you can read the ones that we've got up here. Feel free to take a photo. These are just some of them. But I think there's a few other things that we can talk about. So one of the ones we were talking about earlier, there's a lot more legislation coming in, particularly around sustainability, for example, new packaging tax, which just seems to be moved on each year. And it's quite hard to keep up with, no matter what size of your business. And sometimes maybe it's looking at actually the requirements based on your business. So you can be really quite specific about who you are. And again, it's using that role, goal, detail. So who am I? And that really sets the context for it. And then you give the goal. So what do you actually want to achieve? And to be specific. And then you give the detail, which personalizes it to you. Another one we were talking about was, aiding negotiation in so many different ways. But one thing could be commodity trackers. I think at the moment, definitely with retailers we've worked with, they're even more, shall we say, tight on the margins, and negotiation is really hard. And trying to put through a price increase can be incredibly difficult, and justifying the reason for it as well. And many, many large organizations use commodity trackers, which aren't necessarily A, available to everybody, but B, if you can track them down, they are not the easiest to use and to read and to understand, but that's something that the AI tools can help you to understand. And what does it mean for your particular business?
Yeah. Oh, I've just thought of one as well. If you were signing a new contract with a new retailer or with a new customer, and you wanted to check there wasn't anything funky in there that you didn't want to agree on, you could dump it after you've done your privacy settings on your ChatGPT, for example. You could dump it in there and say, is there anything unusual or something I need to be concerned with in this contract? And then you could actually say, can you suggest to me ways I can push back or negotiate?
Yeah, because that could be one of the hardest ones when you get new contracts through, or if you're looking to work with, say, you're a small business looking to work with a large retailer, and there is like an absolute mammoth 500-page supplier document that you need to read through to make sure that you adhere to all the right things so you don't get the fines. Putting something, I'm not saying put 500 pages through because that's a lot, but if there are certain segments of it, well, actually, what of this applies to me and what do I need to do, and can you just break it down in layman's terms, just make it really clear, because as you say, sometimes contracts can use legal language that, just say what it is on the tin, and it doesn't. So using it to help you to understand those things and to be a little bit more efficient with your time, that you're not spending hours on tasks that actually these can help you with, and you can spend more time on the fun stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And also you can use it, if you're working with a particular retailer and you're trying to get your product into those stores, use it to find out a lot more about that retailer, because I can't tell you how many times Kate and I, and Hannah, I'm not sure if you have as well, I'm sure you have, we've had suppliers pitch to us and they don't know anything about the company at all. Or what they do know is just really basic, what's on the corporate page of the website. So use it to find out what's their initiatives, what's their strategy, where do they see themselves in 3 years' time, what are they going after, what's their sustainability message that they want to put out there. And you can really tailor your pitch to knowing a bit more about that company, and that just shows that you're committed to being in that retailer long term, not short term.
Finding out a bit more about the competitors, that can always be quite a hard one, particularly if it's like a brand that, it doesn't have anything else that does the same. But putting all the information in about, so I'm this person, I got this product, I want to be in this retailer, can you find me similar ones to that? Or where they might share similarities if they're not exactly the same. Lynsey and I both used to work for Accessorize, and we were always like, well, we don't have competitors, because 20 years ago we didn't have competitors. It was the only accessories standalone store. But then gradually things started to creep through, and we'd still say, well, we're not the same. But actually, what similarities do you share with particular stores and particular retailers, or other people doing similar kind of products? Or as we started with, category expansion. What's the right natural step for me to take for my business based on who I am, the goals I want to achieve, and these specifics about me? I want to do everything, but I'm a purse supplier. Does it make sense to do handbags? Or actually, should I go down key rings or bag charms? What's my next thing? If I can't do everything, help me build a road map.
Yeah, exactly.
And there was something you were saying there about when you were thinking about approaching retailers. Ask the AI, what is their Pantone reference for their branding? What font do they use? Can you help to create me a PowerPoint or a Canva deck that looks like one of theirs? So when you are making a pitch, it already looks like you are part of their business and they can see you there. So I've definitely used that when I've kind of been approaching different companies, just to kind of almost like, not trick people's minds into thinking I'm already in the business, but it just makes people realise that you've done your research and you get them.
You speak their language, you identify with their handwriting, and you will fit in that organisation really, really well. So, yeah. I mean, we could probably go on for hours.
I was going to say
have you got one more, Katy?
Brainstorm. No, I haven't got any more. I was going to say we could brainstorm. There's so many more areas, and it just shows how helpful the tools can be. But I would say just quickly, mistakes that can be made, common mistakes. And I think we have kind of, sort of lent towards these, but being too vague or trying to ask too much at once. So make sure you're breaking it into steps. Tell them your skill level. So be open. If you're a beginner, be clear about that. You're a beginner. Help me. Make this really easy for me. And don't always accept the first response. I think that is one of the key ones, really, to make it personal. Always, always refine it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, Hannah, thank you so much for joining us and
Thank you for having
explaining
me.
all the different AI tools. I mean, I know I want to go and get on some of the other ones now and play around with some of those ideas, especially the hot water bottle and the electric blanket. Thanks very much.
Coming from Scotland, that is, it's got your name all over it, hasn't it? And thank you all so much for being here and joining us today. So Lynsey and I have a podcast called Buying and Beyond. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts, predominantly if it's Spotify or Apple. We are on some of the smaller ones, but you'll definitely find us on Spotify and Apple, Buying and Beyond. We have episodes out every Wednesday. We are joined by guests most weeks. A variety of roles that are relevant to retail, but I think the main thing we focus on is that it is real people in retail, and it's not necessarily going to be your big success, multi-million-pound businesses from nothing kind of thing. It's just...
Yeah, we don't have Grace Beverley, do we?
We're not Grace Beverley, and no, what was the other one you mentioned? Ladies that launch. We're not that, we're not sort of just spotlighting the big ones. We're talking about real people, the challenges and the realities that we all face in retail, but we also talk about the good stuff. So, why we've loved our jobs, and we want to share the joy and remind everybody of the best bits about retail. Have a laugh, even though sometimes it can be lonely, sometimes you can feel a little bit low. We really want to celebrate the creativity. So, yeah. And we're going
to be in the Business Hub between 1 and 3. If anybody's got any further questions or wants to come and say hello, we love to chat, Kate and I.
Yeah, we talk a lot. So
that's why we have a podcast.
Do come and join us.
So but thank you for joining and listening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.